So I've been riding the Pole Taival. Shout out to my friends in Finland for correcting me on the terminology. Us Aussies just say it how we want. Pole, Pole, Polly, whatever you want to call it. Chrome Ollie Hardtail. So I demoed a Banshee Paradox V3, the newest Banshee Hardtail. Aggressive, 65 degree head angle, 76.5 degree seat angle, 470 reach in the large. It was killer. It was really good bike. Alloy frame. And I found that thing was so much fun and just so capable above what I was expecting from it. And then a lot of you guys reached out and said, oh, you got to try a steel hardtail. They're more compliant. It's everything that you love about the Banshee, but additional compliance, so it may be a better ride again. Enter the Pole or the Pole. 64.5 degree head angle, 75.5 seat angle. This is a small, so it's 450 reach. Obviously Chrome Ollie, I just mentioned that. I've gone the mullet, 27.5 at the back, 29 at the front. Tried it as a full 29er, bit rough. Got the same impression from the Banshee, bit rough with the 29er in the back. 27.5 made it way better. Same story with this, made it way better. More control, easier to hold on to when things get sketchy. Just feels like a safer bike to ride. To me, not coming off is the most important part of having a good ride. So 27.5, no brainer for me. You've seen a couple of rides, ride along vids, and I'm going to post another one up. Today I've just ridden Horsenall's Gully Bone Shaker, which is out of this thing's league. It's out of any hardtails league, in my opinion, for a good, fun, capable ride. You really, it's a good skill tester for sure. You've got to hold on tight, and you've really got to have your flat pedal ninja skills dialed. You've got to be able to keep your feet where they need to be, hover and grip when you need them, because you're just getting bounced, and you got to do a lot of suspension with your ankles. Your ankles and your calves become the most important parts of your body. Forks felt really good. Lyric Ultimate, I've gone up in pressure. I'm at 98 psi. One token, 150 mil of travel. They didn't feel great with two tokens. Feel a little bit choppy. Dead in the middle and choppy at the end. So for it to be supportive enough in the middle and the start of the stroke, it was too rough. So I tried 3 tokens as well, and it was more of that. It was more rough, and I just didn't like it at all. 2 tokens is what it comes standard, and then 1 token is better, and I'm almost 100% sure that if I went no token at 150 mil of travel, no token and maybe 105 psi, these things would just be butter. I'd be just under 15% sag there. At the moment I'm just a hair under 20% at 98 psi, and I think there's more to them. I think there's more there. So I love the Lyric, and I cannot wait to ride a Lyric on a full suspension, hard-hitting bike. So if you've got one out there with a Lyric Ultimate, and you want me to demo it, or you want me to set your bike up for you, holler, because I'm super keen to ride one. Demo bikes coming through are going to have Lyrics on them, so no biggie. We've got a 35 mil stem, which is cool. The Spank spike bars, at first I mentioned that I thought they were a bit stiff, but I think it was more so to do with the fork setup I had. They feel fine. I got the bar roll right. Took me a little while to find a good, happy spot with the bar roll. I thought it's 4 degrees up, 8 degrees back for the sweep, and I wasn't too sure if it was too far back and not enough up. And it's sometimes you get too far into the details to be. You just got to ride it. You just got to don't worry about it and ride it and have a play. And I found a sweet spot there. They're cool. XT brakes were good. They pull you up well. I'm impressed with the XT brakes. I do like them, but I don't like that these Ice Tech pads rattle around. They certainly rattle around, and you can certainly hear them. The wheels, he's got Stan's Flow EX3, which are cool. Reliable. Stan's always reliable wheels. So Hope Pro 4 hubs seem alright. On the back, obviously, I've got my wheel and hub, so didn't have too much time on the Hope hub, but it was good. It had high engagement, which was pretty cool. GX derailleur was fine. The handling itself on this bike, really easy to throw around. Not super stable at 450 reach. The wheelbase, I can't remember what the wheelbase was, but look it up. It's a small, I think the wheelbase is only about a 12, it might be a 12-15 or something like that. It's not super long, so not very stable in terms of a long wheelbase, but adequately stable on anything but this real choppy, rough, rugged stuff that I've just ridden. feels great. It feels excellent on the steep stuff. You tip it in, it's got a nice raked out head angle. You can see just looking at it, it's layback Larry, and it just loves to go. So steep trails, no worries. Twisty, turny trails in 27 at the rear, no worries. In 29er, not so much. It's a little hard to flick around and turn around. It feels like, and I mentioned in my first video, it feels like it's got a really long rear center, but the chainstays are only 436, so pretty standard there. In this configuration, I love it. I don't know whether it's just because I lean towards the feeling of a 27.5 at the back, and I've stewed over this for a while because people go, oh, maybe you just prefer that. But I'm almost 100% sure, I'm trying to be as objective as I can with it. It's just purely more control, safer, more subdued, and more fun. 29er, if you've got suspension, you can make it work extremely well. It's killer. You can almost get the best of both worlds if you've got the right rear suspension platform. But the majority of bikes that I've tested in both full 29er and then mullet, it always comes out on top as a mullet. Little bit less momentum on the dual suspension bikes, but it's always better for compliance, playfulness, and again, safety, and me feeling in control. So, I thought I had a flat then, I'm just bouncing on a rock. I've got the cush core in, so to me, cush core doesn't make a lot of difference. I'm just protecting my wheel. 26 PSI at the back. Go to 25, it obviously feels good, but around that 25, I'm starting to put on a hard corner, going fast into a hard corner, I'm starting to push the tyre around. I don't like that feeling at all. So, yeah, this thing was a little weapon. I love it, but I've been stewing on a hardtail for a little while. I don't think I'm going to get one now. Wicked for commuting, really, really good for commuting, but after riding the Banshee Phantom, which is a 29er with 115 of rear travel, man, if you want something that's nippy, fast everywhere, and just almost hardtail-esque, you know, really efficient everywhere, that short travel was absolutely wild. I just don't think that this is good for the joints long term. If you're riding just flow trails and all mountain, you know, climbing around and cruising, and you're not riding like I ride like a bit of a maniac sometimes. If you're just more leisurely riding, I suppose is the best way to put it. Definitely, for sure, killer bike to get everywhere on. But if your trails are, if you just go up to go down, if you're literally just a descender, put a little bit extra money into getting a little bit of squish at the back for sure. Because long term, my joints, my ankle is sore at the moment because I had a bit of a slip off the pedal, and just the constant hard impacts the whole way down just put so much load through it. Really good for building your bone density, but long term, I think your joints, you gotta look after yourself, honestly. And you know, that's me saying that, you know, I just had a big crash and ragdolled myself not long ago. But honestly, you do need to look after yourself, and I think having an adequate setup for the style of riding you're doing is super important. But anyway, that's a tangent. Back to the bike itself, in its own element, in the trails like Waterfall Gully. The trails up there, you got Ewok, cool on that, a little bit rough, nice and narrow, cool on that, no worries. Twisted Gum, no worries, it's killer. Obviously a little bit rough, but just so much fun. Yeah, I think hardtails are for anybody who wants to, again, like I said, long commutes. That's the only reason I've been thinking about getting a hardtail, is because I do a lot of commuting on the road as well. I like to ride here and ride there instead of driving my car everywhere. So a hardtail would be perfect for that. But I like going fast on rough trails too much. So I think I'd eventually break a hardtail. Honestly, I'd break it. I don't know what the durability of this thing would be like long term, but if I was riding it on trails like that all the time, I'd be very, very impressed if I didn't break it after 12 months. So, and that's not saying this bike, I'm saying any bike with no rear suspension. Compliance wise, talking about alloy versus steel. So we've got the Banshee Paradox V3, super stiff alloy, versus chromoly, I think it's 4130. Honestly, don't feel any difference. I honestly don't feel any difference in compliance. They both feel hard as hell at the back, obviously, and you know, controllable. But I think the longer frame size, if this was in a medium, it'd be too big for me. And it's like a 480 or something crazy, too big for me. the 470 of that Banshee was the perfect size for me. So a little bit longer would be good. If you're a 170 meters, 170 centimeters tall, this is a perfect size for you. This 450 reach would be perfect size for you. In a full 29er, if you're my height, it'd probably feel like a good size. But in a mullet, it's probably a little bit small for stability at high speed. But what can I say? In its own right, absolute weapon. Not huge on the paint job. It's got spots where the paint's quite thin versus other spots where it's a bit thicker, so it's not a consistent layer of paint. So Pole, I think you've cheaped out a little bit on the paint there. The welds look good. Everything else, the finish looks good. I'm not 100% sure if this is super strong. I don't know too much about a steel, building a steel bike versus an aluminium bike, but it doesn't look like a very thick seat stay. Sorry. He's done well with this chain slap on the chain stay. It's super quiet down the trails. There's no slap. All you can hear in my GoPro run is the GoPro mount slapping on my chest. You can't hear the bike bouncing or anything. The chain's good. The GX derailleur's holding up well. It's not slapping. It's not dropping chains. It's cool. He's got the 1-up chain guide. He's got 165 cranks, 200 rotor at the back, front, 180 at the back. Goes and stops like it should. Not much else I can say about it. It's a weapon. I got the 1-up. This is cool. 1-up 180mm dropper. Works like a charm. The lever's okay, but I wouldn't mind the lever being around this way, not around the bar more, but around that way a little bit more. So it's closer to my thumb here, so I don't have to reach under so much. And to get it closer to me, I've got to rotate it up, and then I'm still having to kind of lift my hand up and push down to lever it. So I'll speak more about that in another video maybe. But the 1-up dropper itself is killer. Silent, works every time. It's heaps light. The fabric seat, this is a fabric radius. It's 2 round. It feels like it goes up in your junk. When you sit on it, it's kind of pushing between your sit bones a little bit. The fabric does a radius, a shallow, and a flat. I like a flatter seat. I think the shallow would probably be the sweet spot, but I do like their cushioning. So fabric seat, that may well be my next seat. A fabric shallow. I'll demo one, see how it feels. It'll either be a fabric shallow or a fabric flat. Fabric radius is too up in your grill. It just pushes on your junk. Even with it tipped all the way down, it's pushing not so much on my junk, but on my anus basically, on my butthole. So, and all jokes aside, I know you guys like to joke about stuff like that, but it's just not that comfy. So, thank you very much, Dave, for letting me borrow your bike. This thing's a weapon. I promise I didn't put it through too much pain and anguish. I put it through this trail here, but I wasn't trying to break it or go stupid on it. It's killer. It's a lot of fun. Stick to the smoother trails. Don't come out and do stupid stuff like this, and you'll have an absolute barrel of fun on this bike. For sure, get a 27.5. I'll give you my back wheel to test on it. See how you like it. If you prefer the 27.5 to the 29er, whatever. But again, thanks a lot, and get out and shred, guys.